my name is Stan, and I'm here to talk about catching the big fish. You know what the fish want. With this EcolureMaker soft bait lure making kit, you can make your own soft bait lures that will catch the big one. This kit includes everything you need to get going on making your own lures. So first, we have the starter shapes just to get you going. You can use any other shape you want also. We have a few pigments just to get you started. We have some green and some red. The wool is used to toughen up the rubber a little bit. You can use what you want in that. Then there's the EcoLure rubber itself. This is enough for a lot of lures. And it's eco-friendly, so it lasts about 45 minutes to an hour in the water. And there's some cups and some stir sticks. And then we got some fish scent to get you started. Oh yeah, don't forget the instructions. This here is the step-by-step process from going from a rubber to catching that big fish that your friends are going to be really jealous of. And then there's the mold making material. This is impressive putty. It's a remeltable, reusable mold making material that you press on the shapes to make your lure. Press. That's why it's impressive, eh? And then we have some mold release in there and some stir sticks. So the whole process consists of making the molds and then making the lures in the mold. First step is to take the starter shapes. Use some snips to cut the lure shapes apart. Be careful you don't cut the connector rod too short, because you're going to need that to connect the lure shapes together. With these starter shapes, you can mix and match the heads and bodies and tails to make over 50 different combinations of lures. And that's just the start. After you get going and you learn the process, you're going to make lures out of a lot of things that you see around the house in other shapes. Sort of like a Lego, you can push the connector rod of one lure shape into the hole of the other lure, and you can connect these together to make it as long or short or a different shape as you'd like. You could use a little clay or some hot glue to hold these shapes together if you want as well. And now it's time to make the mold using the impressive putty. Put it in the microwave for about 30 seconds and it softens into a dough-like consistency. We did this in 15-second intervals here because we weren't really sure how that microwave was going to work. So start short. You don't want to heat this up too much so it boils. If you boil it, then it doesn't have its reusability as much. Don't worry about using this in your home microwave. There's no bad fumes. There's nothing in it that's going to hurt you. Except it is hot. Be careful. When you get this out of the microwave, it could burn you, so be careful. After you've microwaved and you've softened it, let it sit there and cool for about 5 to 10 minutes until it's easy to handle. It's okay if it gets cool. The worst that happens is you have to reheat it a little bit. And then you want to mix it up so you have a nice even texture throughout the whole impressive putty. Now you take those starter shapes that you put together and you press the impressive putty over that shape. Start at one end and get the other end and squish it towards the center. That way you hold those pieces together as you're making your mold. Press the putty all the way around the lure shape so you get a good coverage. It's nice to use a clear plate, although you don't need to, so you can see the bottom of the lure to make sure the putty is covering all the way around the edges. There's no hurries to do this. The putty will stay soft for quite a long time. And if it does get a little hard, just heat it up for a few more seconds in the microwave. When you got your shape finished, put it in the freezer to cool fast, or you can just let it sit out for a little while and it'll harden. You know it's ready is when you press on it with your finger and you don't leave an indentation from your fingerprints. It'll be about 10 to 15 minutes in the freezer to let that cool enough so you can make your lures. After that's cool and our mold is ready to go, we want to take out those original starter shapes and we'll put those in a bag to be used again later on. Now it's time to make those fishing lures. It's time for the EcoLure rubber, which is designed to catch the big fish and be nice to the environment. The first thing you need to do with the EcoLure rubber is to shake it. Shake it for about a minute straight, up and down, turn it around, flip it up. You want to make sure all the parts of that are mixed up really well. If in doubt, shake it a little bit more. Okay, you get the idea. Now we pour that EcolureMaker rubber into one of the cups that's provided for you. Doesn't really matter how much you pour into the cup. Use a couple tablespoons to start with. It doesn't matter how much because you can always add more, and what you put in there and melt the first time can be remelted again to use it for another lure. You want to add a pinch or two of wool into the EcolureMaker rubber. That wool adds toughness to the EcolureMaker rubber so that when you put the hook in, it doesn't tear. You also have a couple color pigments you can use to color the EcolureMaker rubber. You can use these two color pigments, or you can use anything else for your colors as well. This is also a good time to be adding the secret ingredients into the EcolureMaker rubber. What you add is totally up to you, so use your imagination. There's a big debate in the fishing lure world whether or not scents work to help catch fish. Well, we've added a fish scent in here so you can experiment to see what you think. Now that you have this all together, you want to mix it really well so that wool fibers are throughout the entire mixture. Heat this in the microwave for about 8 seconds. If you heat it too much, that's okay. It won't bother it. I know we've said this before, but be careful, this stuff is hot. Before using this to make your lures, let it sit for at least 5 minutes, probably closer to 10 minutes. It wants to be cool, but still soft. If it begins to get too thick, that's okay, just stick it in the microwave for another 3 seconds. Now, before you go and put the EcolureMaker rubber into the mold, be sure you put some mold release into the mold first. Add a drop or two and use your finger to wipe it along the sides and on the inside, everywhere that the EcolureMaker rubber is going to touch. Now you want to take your cooled down EcolureMaker rubber and you want to take your stir stick and press it into the mold. Fill up that whole mold with the EcolureMaker rubber. Any of that EcolureMaker rubber that you don't use in this mold, that's okay. You can remelt it and use it for another lure. Put the mold and the EcolureMaker rubber that's in the mold in the freezer for about 5 to 10 minutes, and you'll have your first EcolureMaker rubber soft bait lure. Flex the impressive putty mold out and away from your EcolureMaker rubber lure to get it out of the mold, or you can use your stir stick to squeeze in and pull it down the sides. Use a pair of scissors to clean up the edges on the fishing lure. All that material that you've taken off, don't throw that out. It's reusable, so put it back in and make another lure with that material. Now the best part, you have to go test that lure. So get out there and go fish. If somebody asks you what you're doing, just tell them that you're following the instructions. Before you remelt that mold, this might be a good time to make a lot of different lures in that shape. You can change the secret ingredients you add in there, you can change the colors, but you want to make a lot of different lures because probably you're going to be catching the bigger fish and your friends are going to want some of those lures. And when you're finished with this lure, you can remelt that impressive putty anytime you want to make a different shape. This kit shows you how to make one-part lures. However, the same impressive putty can also be used to make two-part molds or different shapes using other materials other than the starter kits that are in this kit. Here's a quick demo of the two-part mold. We used a super glue container as our lure shape, which we thought was kind of cool. So you do the first half of the mold just like we show you here with the impressive putty. After that's cooled, you put some mold release on top of that, and you press on a second layer of the impressive putty onto the other side of the mold. Let this cool, separate these, and you have your two-part mold. Then you want to fill that cavity with the lure rubber and let that cool, and you have a two-part mold fishing lure. Now clean up those edges with some scissors or a knife and go try to catch a fish. How cool would that be to catch a big fish using a shape of a super glue container? So that's the basics for using the EcolureMaker soft bait lure making kit. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope this video gave you ideas of what you can create. So this kit is better for you, it's better for the environment, and it's better for the fish. Now, one last piece of instructions: go fish.